Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing the next hit of pleasure? Whether it's scrolling through social media, binge watching your favorite shows, or indulging in that extra slice of cake? Why do we crave more, even when we know it might not be good for us? Why does pleasure so often turn into addiction? In this video, we're diving into the neuroscience of desire, and how modern life hijacks our brain's reward system. We'll uncover the crucial role of dopamine, the motivation molecule, and how its balance is disrupted, leading to constant craving and dissatisfaction. Understand the science behind your cravings and discover strategies to reclaim control over your brain. Dopamine. It's often referred to as the pleasure chemical, but it's more accurate to think of it as the brain's motivation molecule. It's the driving force behind our desire to seek out rewards and engage in activities that promote survival. Imagine you're walking through a desert and you're incredibly thirsty. Suddenly you spot an oasis with crystal clear water. Your brain releases a surge of dopamine, motivating you to move towards the water. In an experiment, researchers found that rats depleted of dopamine would refuse to eat, even with food in front of them. They lacked the motivation to engage in essential survival behavior. Our ancestors evolved in an environment where rewards were scarce and hard-earned. Finding food, securing shelter, and attracting a mate required significant effort. But our world has changed dramatically. We now live in an age of unprecedented abundance and instant gratification. Delicious food is readily available, entertainment options are endless, and social connection is just a notification away. This constant bombardment of rewards impacts our dopamine system. Our brains, wired to seek out novelty and reward, are being flooded with dopamine triggers like never before. Our brains are incredibly adaptable, constantly rewiring themselves in response to our experiences. This remarkable ability allows us to learn new skills, adapt to new environments, and recover from injuries. It's a testament to the brain's resilience and flexibility. This ability to change, known as neuroplasticity, is essential for learning and growth. It enables us to form new memories, develop new habits, and even change our behaviors. Neuroplasticity is the foundation of our ability to grow and evolve throughout our lives. But it also means our brains can be molded by our environments, for better or worse. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly bombarded with stimuli, from the hustle and bustle of city life to the demands of our jobs. This constant exposure can shape our brains in ways we might not even realize. In the context of dopamine, our brains adapt to the constant influx of rewards by becoming less sensitive to dopamine's effects. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in how we experience pleasure and reward. When we engage in activities that release dopamine, our brains learn to associate those activities with pleasure. Imagine you walk into a room filled with the scent of freshly baked cookies. The aroma is rich and inviting, instantly making your mouth water and your stomach growl. At first the smell is intoxicating, but as you spend more time in the room, the aroma becomes less intense. Your brain adjusts to the constant presence of the scent, and it no longer has the same impact. The same principle applies to dopamine. When we repeatedly engage in activities that release large amounts of dopamine, our brains start to become desensitized to its effects. This means that over time, we need more of the activity to achieve the same level of pleasure. When we're constantly bombarded with dopamine-triggering activities, our brains become numb to its effects. This can happen with anything that provides a quick hit of pleasure, such as social media, video games, or even notifications on our phones. This leads to tolerance, where we need more of the stimulating activity to experience the same level of pleasure. It's a vicious cycle that can be hard to break, as we constantly seek out more intense experiences to satisfy our cravings. This diminished sensitivity to dopamine leads to constant craving and dissatisfaction. We find ourselves always wanting more, never quite feeling content with what we have. We're always chasing the next dopamine hit, never quite feeling satisfied. This relentless pursuit can take a toll on our mental and emotional well-being, leaving us feeling empty and unfulfilled. This can manifest as a feeling of emptiness or boredom when we're not engaged in stimulating activities. We may find it difficult to enjoy the simpler things in life, as they no longer provide the same level of excitement. It drives us back to our screens, our plates, or our vices in a relentless pursuit of pleasure. We become trapped in a cycle of seeking out quick fixes, rather than finding lasting satisfaction. This dopamine overload can impair our ability to experience pleasure from more subtle, meaningful aspects of life. Activities that once brought us joy, like spending time in nature, reading a book, or engaging in a creative hobby, may now seem dull in comparison. Activities that once brought us joy may now seem dull compared to the instant gratification offered by our digital devices. This shift in our reward system can have profound effects on our overall happiness and well-being. This shift in our reward system can impact our mental and emotional well-being, contributing to feelings of anxiety, depression, and disconnect. It's important to recognize these patterns and find ways to restore balance in our lives, so we can truly appreciate the richness and depth of our experiences. How overstimulation leads to addiction. This constant overstimulation of our dopamine system can pave the way for addiction. In today's digital age, we are bombarded with stimuli from all directions: our phones, computers, and even our watches. Notifications, messages, and updates keep our brains in a state of perpetual alertness. Addiction is characterized by compulsive engagement in a rewarding activity despite negative consequences. Whether it's drugs, social media, or gambling, the underlying mechanism is strikingly similar. It's a complex condition influenced by genetics, environment, and personal history. Some people may be more predisposed to addiction due to their genetic makeup, while others might be influenced by their surroundings or past experiences. But at its core, addiction is a disease of the brain's reward system, and dopamine plays a central role. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that signals pleasure and reward, and it drives us to repeat behaviors that are beneficial for our survival. When we engage in an addictive behavior, our brain releases a surge of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior. This creates a powerful association between the activity and the pleasure it brings. Over time, our brain adapts by reducing the number of dopamine receptors or making them less sensitive. This means that the same activity will produce less pleasure over time, leading us to seek out more of the behavior to achieve the same effect. This process, known as downregulation, is the brain's way of maintaining balance. However, it also means that our natural ability to feel pleasure is diminished. However, this downregulation comes at a cost. We become less sensitive to dopamine, and everyday activities that used to bring us joy no longer do. We need more of the addictive behavior to experience the same level of pleasure. This is why people often escalate their use, whether it's more time on social media, higher doses of drugs, or riskier bets in gambling. This is why addiction is often characterized by escalation. The more we engage in the behavior, the more we need to achieve the same level of reward. This downregulation also diminishes our ability to experience pleasure from other healthier sources of reward. Activities that once brought us joy, like spending time with loved ones or enjoying a hobby, may no longer feel as rewarding. This creates a vicious cycle. We engage in the addictive behavior to feel good, but the more we engage, the less sensitive our brains become to dopamine. This leads to a never-ending loop of seeking more and more of the addictive behavior. Imagine a person who spends hours every day on social media, seeking validation through likes and comments. Each notification triggers a small release of dopamine, making them feel momentarily good. Over time, they need to spend more time online to experience the same level of reward. This can lead to a significant amount of time spent on these platforms, often at the expense of other important activities. This can lead to neglecting responsibilities, withdrawing from real-life relationships, and feeling anxious and depressed when not online. The cycle of addiction can be incredibly difficult to break, but understanding the role of dopamine and the brain's reward system is a crucial first step. Breaking free. The power of discomfort. Discomfort is often seen as something to be avoided, but it holds the key to unlocking our true potential. By embracing discomfort, we can break free from the chains that hold us back and achieve a sense of freedom and triumph. Our brains are incredibly adaptable, and we have the power to rewire them for greater balance and well-being. This adaptability, known as neuroplasticity, allows us to change our thought patterns and behaviors, leading to a more fulfilling life. The key to breaking free from dopamine overload lies in understanding a fundamental principle: neurons that fire together, wire together. This means that the more we engage in a particular thought pattern or behavior, the stronger the neural connections become, making it easier to repeat those actions in the future. The more we engage in a particular thought pattern or behavior, the stronger the neural connections become. This principle can be harnessed to build positive habits and skills, such as learning a new language, playing a musical instrument, or developing a creative hobby. This principle works both ways. Just as we can strengthen positive neural pathways, we can also weaken those associated with negative or unproductive behaviors by choosing different actions. We can weaken pathways associated with dopamine-spiking activities and strengthen healthier ones by choosing different behaviors. For example, turning off our smartphones, choosing healthier foods, and engaging in regular exercise can help us build better habits. It all starts with embracing discomfort. Stepping out of our comfort zones and facing challenges head-on can lead to personal growth and development. Our brains are naturally averse to discomfort, programmed to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This aversion can make it difficult to break free from habits that provide immediate gratification but are ultimately harmful. But short-term discomfort is often the pathway to long-term fulfillment. Achieving meaningful goals, such as completing a marathon or celebrating a personal success, often requires enduring temporary discomfort. Rewarding experiences in life, like achieving a goal or building a relationship, require effort and discipline. These experiences are often the most fulfilling and provide a deep sense of satisfaction. When we embrace discomfort, we activate neural pathways associated with growth and lasting satisfaction. This can lead to a more balanced and fulfilling life. One way to start rewiring our brains is through dopamine fasting. This practice involves taking breaks from activities that provide instant gratification, allowing our brains to reset and find balance. Dopamine fasting isn't about complete deprivation. It's about making conscious choices to abstain from specific dopamine-spiking activities for a set period, giving our brains a chance to recalibrate. It's about abstaining from specific dopamine-spiking activities for a set period, allowing our brains to reset. This could involve taking a break from social media, limiting processed foods, or setting aside time for activities that require focus and effort. This could involve taking a break from social media, limiting processed foods, or setting aside time for activities that require focus and effort. By doing so, we can create new, healthier habits that lead to long-term well-being. Identify activities that trigger excessive dopamine release, and experiment with reducing exposure. This can help us regain control over our impulses and make more mindful choices, set boundaries around technology use, create structure in daily routines, and find healthy ways to cope with stress. These strategies can help us build a more balanced and fulfilling life. Another tool for rewiring our brains is mindfulness. This practice involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment, helping us become more aware of our thoughts and behaviors. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It helps us observe our cravings and impulses without automatically giving in to them, allowing us to make more conscious choices. It helps us observe our cravings and impulses without automatically giving in to them. By practicing mindfulness, we can develop greater self-awareness and control over our actions. Mindfulness can be practiced through meditation, yoga, or simply focusing on our breath. These practices can help us cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience, enabling us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease. Our brains are constantly shaped by our experiences, and the digital age has created a challenging environment for our dopamine systems. By understanding the neuroscience of desire and implementing strategies to rewire our brains, we can break free from dopamine overload. It's about finding a balance and cultivating a healthier relationship with dopamine. Start by becoming aware of your dopamine triggers and experiment with managing them. Embrace discomfort, practice mindfulness, and prioritize activities that promote long-term fulfillment. Your brain will thank you for it. Want to reclaim control over your brain? Start by being mindful of your dopamine triggers. Like this video, and subscribe for more insight.